Excellencies, I think we can start the event. Excellencies, honorable members of Parliament, dear colleagues, it's a real pleasure to start meeting and presentation of the priorities of the Romanian presidency in the Council of European Union. And actually, I was counting, for me it's already 11th time I'm participating in this kind of events, and I think it's really very good tradition. And we have followed actually the tradition with the order of the speakers, because we will have the outgoing presidency, we will have the actual presidency, and also Latvian view on the presidency. So I think I will not spend more time on introduction, and first I will ask Her Excellency Stella Avalone, Ambassador of Austria to Latvia, to present in very short what have been the achievements of the Austrian presidency, experience, etc. So, please.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to wish good luck to the incoming Romanian EU presidency. Romania and Austria, we have worked in the past on a great many European Union issues. I just mentioned the European Danube strategy, which we both initiated together and which has become a success story. When we are talking about the stock taking of the Austrian EU presidency, of course, you know, we had this motto, Europe that protects, with three priorities. The one was security and the fight against illegal migration, then securing prosperity and competitiveness through digitalization, and then stability in the neighborhood. In the field of security, migration was one of the most topical issues. We were focusing on that during the informal European Council meeting in Salzburg, as well as during the formal European Council meetings in October and December, where we had 3 points. On the one hand, strengthening the EU's external borders, strengthening the mandate of Frontex. Then the internal aspect, reform of the common European asylum system, and then finally the cooperation with neighboring countries, in particular with African countries. And Austria also presented a large-scale EU-Africa forum in Vienna on the 18th of December of last year, where we tried to place a special focus on business. There was a meeting of heads and states and government and business enterprises to talk about joint challenges and how to create new jobs in order to create perspectives for the younger generation in the region. As far as security issues are concerned, we also worked on other files, such as the better access of financial intelligence and law enforcement agencies to financial information in order to combat terrorism and organized crime, to name just one example. We also placed a special focus on the combat against anti-Semitism. We just had, together with the European Commission and with Italy as the chair of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, a conference here in Riga dedicated to the International Holocaust Day on 27th of January. And in Vienna we had an international conference, Europe Beyond Anti-Semitism and Anti-Zionism, Securing Jewish Life in Europe. And this conference in November of last year paved the way for a declaration by the Council of the European Ministers of the Interior on 6th of December, which called on all EU member states who have not yet done so to accept the working definition of anti-Semitism by the IRA. And also the European Council on 13th and 14th of December condemned anti-Semitism and all kinds of xenophobia and racism. In the field of economic growth, we put emphasis on the single market. About 80% of the single market dossiers could be finished. For example, we worked on the registration and administration of EU websites and on the P2B regulation, that is platforms to business regulation, meaning that there should be a better access to online information for businesses in order to launch new projects in the field of innovation and startups. In the field of European neighborhood policy, of course, we were focusing on the European Eastern Partnership with the Eastern Partnership Foreign Ministers meeting on the 15th of October in Luxembourg. And also, of course, on the Western Balkans are one of the priorities of Austrian foreign politics. There will be a joint seminar with Romania and the Latvian Foreign Ministry on the 8th of February of this year on the Western Balkans in the press center of the Latvian Foreign Ministry. And we were very glad that we could open new chapters in the negotiations with Serbia, for example, on statistics, but also on economic and monetary policy, and with Montenegro on environment and climate change. Well, coming to an end, just a few figures, some statistics. Well, it was possible for us to conclude 128 files. And we had 2,722 events in connection with the presidency in Brussels, Strasbourg and Luxembourg, as well as in Austria and other EU member states. And the presidency is also an economic factor. According to first calculations, it contributed 135 million euro to the Austrian GDP. That is an equivalent of 2,305 jobs. Austria is a country of culture, a nation of culture. We also had several cultural activities, among others the exhibition Beyond Klimt, Art in Central Europe from 1914 to 1938, and Europe United in Art in the Europa building of the Council. That's in a nutshell what we have done. I wish all the best to the Romanian EU presidency, and I'm sure, well, we have already prepared or contributed to the preparation, because Romania and Austria tabled jointly a report on the citizens' dialogue on the future of Europe, which will be one of the main topics of the EU summit on the future of Europe in Sibiu in May of this year. So all the best and good luck, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador, for a very concise and also very precise presentation. I remember when Latvia held presidency, the debate on what are the gains from our financial contributions to host the presidency, and I see gladly that the Austrian side has already calculated what are the gains. So I think that's very good also to explain to the citizens that every euro invested brings probably a few euros more back. So I think that's very good practice. So now we've come to the introduction of the priorities of the current presidency. Romanian presidency is the first presidency for Romania. It also comes in we should say, quite crucial time, because we have European elections approaching that will be held actually during the Romanian presidency. There is a big summit planned, but I think Ambassador will give insight to this. So, Ambassador, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, I would like to thank the representation of the Commission for hosting this presentation of the priorities of our first EU presidency. Thank you again. While setting these priorities, we have tried to ensure complementarity with the strategic documents of the European Union, such as Bratislava and Rome declarations, the leaders' agenda, and the working program of the European Commission. And at the same time, we try to ensure coherence with the 18-month program of the trio, elaborated together with Finland and Croatia. During our mandate, as the previous presidencies also, we'll try to act as an honest broker to advance the current agenda and to strengthen the European integration. And it is our genuine intention to work in a constructive and inclusive manner to advance as many files as possible while maintaining the unity of the EU and strengthening the cohesion within the European Union. And for that, of course, we count on the support of the European institutions and of the member states, including Latvia. Our presidency, as was mentioned here, takes place in a challenging period, with large-scale developments that will shape the future of the European Union. And here we have the Brexit process, we have the budget, and we have the European Parliament's elections. As far as the Brexit process is concerned, of course, it is clear that it will take the Union into a new reality. But even in this context, it's a process that has to be orderly managed, despite what we see now. And we as a presidency will try to maintain the unity of the EU27, while at the same time we'll try to strike a strong and close future relationship with the UK. The Romanian presidency will act in order to shape, together with the European institutions and the member states, a strategic frame for the future. And here, in this context, we have the landmark of our presidency, which is the Leaders' Summit in Sibiu on the 9th of May, a summit that will focus precisely on the future of the European Union. We hope that will be a significant moment for this discussion. But also, during the summit, we will try to send a signal and a message of unity within the Union, and also we'll try to raise awareness among the citizens about the added value that the European Union brings. The second challenge we have here in this presentation is, of course, the future multinational financial framework, which is the future EU budget. It is clear that we need a solid and appropriate budgetary framework in order to achieve the objectives for the next 7 years. And actually, the European budget is a reflection of how we see the Union in the future. And that is why, being a key priority of our presidency, we'll try to make sure that the results reflect the realities that the citizen perceive in their everyday life, and also we'll try to make sure that the results are balanced. Another challenge is, as was said already, the European Parliament elections. And actually this means the end of the current EU institutional cycle that, as my Austrian colleagues already said, translates in a high number of files that reflect the priorities for the future of the Union and its citizens. Because our presidency will take place in this period, almost naturally we will focus in the first half on advancing as much as possible the legislative process, which means finalizing as many files as possible. And again, congratulations to the Austrians for the very big number of files finalized. And in the second half, we'll focus on the non-legislative priorities, which are also very important and complex. We believe that the key to address all these challenges and to advance the agenda is cohesion in all its dimensions. And we see the cohesion both as a common European value and as an expression of unity between EU member countries and regions. And that is why we have chosen the motto of our presidency, cohesion, a common European value. During our mandate, we will try to promote cohesion in its three dimensions as we see it. And these are political, economic, and social. In the political dimension, we'll try to strengthen the link between member states, European institutions, and citizens. We also will try to enhance the economic dimension of cohesion, which is a catalyzing factor in reducing the development gaps between member states and also of strengthening the internal market. As far as the social dimension of the cohesion is concerned, we'll try to ensure social convergence and also will act to preserve the four fundamental freedoms of the EU single market. We included our priorities in four main pillars of action. And you can see here Europe of convergence, a safer Europe, Europe a global actor, and Europe of common values. The first pillar is Europe of convergence, and here the Romanian presidency overall objectives is to promote economic and social upwards convergence, to further improve the functioning of the single market, and to increase the overall competitiveness of the EU economy. We have a number of key actions, which are reducing development gaps, competitiveness, employment and labor mobility, innovation, digitalization and connectivity, climate change and sustainability. As far as the reducing development gaps is concerned, of course, it is essential the new multinational financial framework to provide the necessary financial and regulatory means for ensuring convergence. Then we have competitiveness, and this means a consolidation of the European single market and its four fundamental freedoms. An objective is to continue to eliminate barriers to cross-border movement of goods, labor, services, and capital, and also to maintain a strong industrial base that is a prerequisite for the competitiveness of the European economy. Employment and labor mobility, another priority. Here we focus on promoting labor mobility, which is a reflection of the fundamental principle of freedom of movement, and also we will work through to implement the European Pillar of Social Rights. Another goal is to advance negotiations at EU level on the European Labour Authority. As far as innovation, digitalization, and connectivity are concerned, we will continue to implement European programs such as Horizon Europe program, Digital Euro program, Connecting Euro facility, in order for the EU to be at the forefront in these important domains. For this, we need important investment to be made in several areas such as research and development. Climate change and sustainability. Here we need progress on the EU climate agenda and towards the implementation of the Paris Agreement. And also we propose to reduce CO2 emissions in the transport sector. We continue to the second pillar, a safer Europe. And here our presidency will contribute to further defining and implementing the Union's answers to a wide range of security-related challenges. We have migration. We'll try to better manage it and also to better manage the external borders. Migration remains in focus in order to continue the substantial efforts made in turning the concept of a comprehensive approach on migration into action. Also, we'll try to ensure an efficient and sustainable management of this phenomenon. Then we have radicalization, terrorism, and cybersecurity, and we believe the action in these areas is contributing to the consolidation of the internal security of the European Union. And actually, the real challenge is to build the necessary capacity to prevent and address these threats. As far as borders and Schengen area is concerned, the Romanian presidency will continue to work on the key legislative files in the field, such as setting up the interoperability of the EU security systems, strengthening the operational capacity of the European Border and Coast Guard Agency Frontex, and strengthening the security of identity cards of EU citizens. We go on to the third pillar, which is Europe as a stronger global actor, and here our presidency will support the High Representative in delivering the ongoing CSDP initiatives and in further consolidating the global role of the EU. As far as the CSDP is concerned, one of the main focuses will be to develop the EU defense capabilities while ensuring complementarity and reinforced partnership with NATO. Also here we will try to strengthen the resilience of the Union to counter hybrid threats and to improve strategic communication tools. And then another priority is Western Balkans. So here we continue on our Austrian colleagues' footsteps. As objectives, we have to achieve steady progress in the EU enlargement policy within the agreed parameters and to support reforms, democratization, and reconciliation efforts in the Western Balkans. We will not forget Turkey, which for us is a candidate state and a key partner for EU in areas such as managing migration, countering terrorism, and ensuring regional and Euro-Atlantic security. And we will carry on all efforts necessary in order to stimulate a pragmatic and constructive dynamic in EU-Turkey relationship. Then we have our eastern neighborhood, where we will try to ensure a proper consistency of the European action, especially that this year we celebrate 10 years since the launch of the Eastern Partnership and 5 years since the launch of the conclusion of the first association agreements. We will support the efforts undertaken by the EEAS and by the Commission for the continued implementation of the deliverables under the EAP agenda for 2020, and we will devote a special attention to consolidating and to offering concrete answers to the aspiration of states such as the Republic of Moldova, Ukraine, and Georgia for an explicit European perspective. We also aim, given our geographical position, to boost the importance of the Black Sea on the EU's agenda. Then another goal is to strengthen the multilateral system and the international law. And here we propose to enhance the EU and UN cooperation. We will make efforts to continue the modernization of the WTO and also to strengthen the transatlantic relationship. The fourth and the last pillar, Europe of common values, and here our presidency aims at stimulating solidarity and cohesion of the EU through promoting policies on combating discrimination, equal chances and equal treatment between men and women, as well as through increasing the involvement of the citizens, in particular the youth, in the European debate. We have a number of specific goals here. One is democratic change, and key priorities for us are the conclusion of the legislative initiative on addressing the infringements of personal data. we'll try to advance on the discussion on how to better communicate Europe, and also to address the issue of disinformation, which is very topical given the coming of the European elections. Under the gender equality topic, we'll try to make efforts towards bringing more women in the labor market and improving work-life balance for both men and women. Also, we have the social development topic, and here our presidency will continue the efforts to expand education and learning mobility opportunities for all youth, and also to ensure access to social protection for all categories of workers, including self-employed and non-standard. I will conclude with the calendar. My Austrian colleague spoke about the number of meetings. Of course, the presidency in practice means presiding a lot of meetings. And in our case is the same. Most of our meetings will take place in Brussels, Strasbourg, Luxembourg, and Bucharest. And only to give you an example, in Brussels, we will organize about 1,700 meetings, out of which 40 meetings of the EU Council at ministerial level. Also in Romania, we will host almost 300 meetings, out of which 22 informal ministerial meetings. And I will not forget the events our embassies in EU countries will organize. As my Austrian colleague said, on the next week we will have a conference on the Western Balkans. And also in March, our embassy together with the Latvian Foreign Ministry will organize a conference on the Eastern Partners, which is one of our priorities. So I will finish here. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your comprehensive presentation. We see that indeed the agenda of Romanian presidency is very ambitious, and it touches a lot of very crucial files. And I also noted that this overarching principle of cohesion is, I'm sure, also one of the priorities for Latvia, because one of the aims also is to have, let's say, multi-annual financial framework that is acceptable to all, and there are, of course, a lot of challenges there. So I would now ask Deputy State Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Solveiga Silkalna, to give her and Ministry's views on what are those crucial things for Latvia in Romanian presidency. Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much to the European Commission representation for hosting this event. Thank you very much to the Austrian ambassador for her presentation, and in general for a very highly competent chairmanship in the past 6 months, and your active presence here also in Latvia. And we would like to congratulate now Romania on taking on in this semester the very responsible role of chairman of presidency. And I can certainly vouch that Latvia will support you in the 4 pillars that you eloquently described in your priorities. And we can certainly subscribe, as Anders said, to your motto, cohesion, a common European value, because we certainly see convergence and cohesion as a horizontal element in every EU policy. And also you have a particular role this year in ensuring or promoting continuity in a year of change. In the institutional cycle with the European Parliament and the European Commission and various other changes which are natural and we need, but they do mean adjustment, and we hope for some continuity there. And I will only very briefly highlight some of the main issues which I think everyone knows are going to be the focus of everyone's work over the next 6 months. Firstly, of course, the orderly process of Brexit is a priority for us, and in a period of uncertainty, the best we can do right now is to prepare for the hardest outcome, and we are doing this in Latvia, and I know that every other member state is also making some preparations just in case. And certainly, as you mentioned, we would like at the end of all this process to certainly see UK as a very close and special partner for us. But until then, we have to deal with the process that's going on until the end of March, or possibly we'll see how it will develop. Secondly, the multi-annual financial framework. Our heads of state and government have expressed the aim to complete the negotiations on this by autumn of this year. It's rather ambitious, of course, but we would like to see work on a timely agreement, and there is plenty still to be done in this first half of the year, and our emphasis there is on achieving greater socio-economic convergence among all EU member states and regions. And thirdly, we are looking forward to the Sibiu summit on 9th of May, which is going to be the first summit after Brexit, I guess. So it will be especially important for the EU to show a very strong message of unity and looking forward into the future. And there is a planned discussion on the future priorities of the EU with a view to adopting the strategic agenda for 2019 to 2024 at the June European Council. So, and I think it will also be an excellent opportunity for Romania to showcase its attractions. Besides all those very big files, of course, there is the regular work ongoing that you mentioned. We need to continue work on completing the single market, including digital single market. Latvia would like to see also continued attention on media freedom, on societal resilience to disinformation, and we will certainly be drawing attention to these issues also during the Romanian presidency and beyond. Furthermore, of course, there is the ongoing discussion on economic and monetary union and on security and defense. And as you mentioned, the EU's neighborhood needs our continued attention and support. And certainly this year we mark the 10th anniversary of the Eastern Partnership. So these are all areas besides the biggest files that need our attention. And just finally, you mentioned the gains of let's say, yes, the gains of the presidency in monetary terms, let's say, and statistics of how many meetings and so on. That is true, and especially for a first-time presidency, I think also the value of these 6 months is in expertise and in also a greater public understanding of the workings of the EU, hopefully, if well communicated, and also a drawing closer in that sense, beyond all the practical gains, let's say. So let me again wish you the very best of Romanian luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Solveig, for your words and your comments. I think indeed there are a lot of similarities between the Romanian approach and also Latvian position towards all the key priorities. And now, if anyone would like to have some comments or questions to the President, to presidencies or to Latvian side, please, the floor is yours. No, I don't see. Everything is great and clear. if there are no questions, I understand we, Ambassador, also wanted to show you a short video, right? Because as you know, nowadays it's very much about communicating in different networks, and video helps very much, I think.
No sound.
It has subtitles, so...
Just a second.
Technical.
Ancestors, yeah, they were born in 1848 in Oradea. Also it was then still Großwaradein in German, because part of the Austrian part.
Finish on this note.
No, I think we can show it anyway, and people can read the...
Maybe we leave it like this and we can... Passa se meglio, non mai. Passa se meglio.
Do you want to show it?
We have no sound, we can finish. And the film is going on.
So while the film is going on without sound, thank you. We still continue to watch it, but otherwise, thanks for your participation. And we'll also have some informal talks outside. So we'll finish the film and then continue with informal part of our discussion on Romanian presidency priorities. Thank you.